I'm Rebecca, 23 years old when my world collapsed. At Grandma Rose's will reading, my father screamed, "You're not even our real daughter. We only took you in out of pity." 23 years of rejection suddenly made sense. I walked out with nothing but $8,000 and a sapphire necklace. 15 years later, they appeared at the gates of my Beverly Hills estate, begging for millions. That day, I finally decided what family really means. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from, and thanks for being here. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Boston, my childhood should have been ordinary. Dad Thomas working as an architect, bringing home decent money. Mom Patricia teaching second grade, beloved by everyone's kids except apparently her own. From the outside, perfect American family, 4-bedroom colonial, white picket fence, golden retriever named Charlie. But here's the thing about perfect families. They're usually anything but. I was baby number 3. My sister Catherine was 7 years older, the golden child who could literally do no wrong. Swimming scholarships, straight A's, personality that made everyone fall in love with her instantly. My brother Michael, 5 years ahead of me, was the artistic genius. Perfect violin performances, debate team captain, that dazzling smile that opened every door. And then there was me, the oops baby, the afterthought. The one they clearly didn't plan for. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and suddenly everyone stops talking. That was my entire childhood. While Catherine and Michael got standing ovations for breathing, my straight A's got a dismissive, "That's what we expect." Their straight A's, celebration dinners, and proud phone calls to relatives. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Mom would sigh when I struggled with violin. "Michael was playing Bach at your age. Dad? He attended every single one of Catherine's swim meets, cheering so loud the whole pool could hear him. But when I qualified for the state spelling bee in 5th grade, guys, suddenly he was too busy with work. "Spelling isn't really a spectator sport, Rebecca," he said, not even looking up from his newspaper. "Besides, I have an important client meeting." Want to know the kicker? I found out later he rescheduled that important meeting to watch Michael's orchestra rehearsal, a rehearsal. But the moment that really broke my 10-year-old heart, my birthday. Mom had promised a small party with my school friends. I'd been planning it for weeks, making handmade invitations, picking out decorations. Morning of my birthday, I wake up excited, ready for my special day. And Mom drops this bomb. There's been a change of plans. Catherine has a championship swim meet, and we all need to support her. "But Mom," I said, trying not to cry, "my friends are coming in 2 hours." "Don't be selfish," Dad snapped. "This is important for your sister. Family comes first." Family comes first. Those words still haunt me because somehow they never applied when I needed family. So there I was, calling my friends one by one, explaining through tears that my party was canceled. Then sitting in those bleachers for 3 hours, completely forgotten while they cheered for Catherine. No happy birthday song, no cake, no presents. Just leftover pizza from Catherine's victory celebration. I ate alone in my room that night, tears mixing with my dinner. Michael wasn't just indifferent, he was calculated in his cruelty. He'd invite friends over and literally lock me out of rooms, borrow my stuff and return it broken. If he returned it at all. When I complained, he'd put on this innocent face. "Rebecca's just being dramatic again." And they'd believe him. Every single time. Catherine could have protected me. As the big sister, she had that power. But she chose to live in her own world of sports and popularity, too busy to notice her little sister slowly drowning. The only person who really saw me, was Grandma Rose, Dad's aunt who had raised him after his parents died in a car accident when he was young. Once a month she'd visit, and for those precious hours, I felt human again. "You have something special, Rebecca," she'd tell me while we baked cookies. "One day the world will see what I see in you." She brought me books when everyone else called my reading antisocial. She came to my spelling bees, sitting front row, beaming with pride. With Grandma Rose, love wasn't a competition, it just was. At school, I was brilliant. Teachers praised my creativity, my intelligence. But at home? "Book smarts won't get you far," Dad would say. "You need social skills like your sister." I tried everything to win their approval. Debate team like Michael, they were too busy to watch me advance to regionals. Tennis like Catherine. "Girls' sports aren't as competitive," Dad shrugged. By high school, I'd given up on being seen. I focused on grades, worked at the local bookstore, saved every penny for college. Applied for scholarships in secret because I knew I was on my own. When Harvard and Northwestern acceptance letters came, they seemed shocked, like they'd never considered I might be capable of greatness. "Those schools are expensive," Dad said, and I heard relief in his voice, "and so far from home." Relief. At the thought of me leaving. That told me everything I needed to know. Wait. Before I continue, I need to tell you about the day everything exploded. But first, if you're enjoying this story, could you do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button? This gets so much crazier, and I promise you don't want to miss what happens next. Fast forward to 23. I'd graduated Northwestern with honors, journalism, and digital media. Got a job at a small LA magazine. Finally felt like maybe, just maybe, I could earn their respect. Then Grandma Rose died. Sudden stroke. My world shattered. The funeral was lonely. I sat alone while they huddled together in their grief circle. No one checked if I was okay, despite knowing Rose was my lifeline. Then came the will reading. Most stuff went as expected. House to Dad, car to Catherine, jewelry to Michael. But then, to my beloved granddaughter Rebecca, I leave my grandmother's sapphire necklace and $8,000. "You were always special to me." The room went dead silent. Then Mom actually scoffed. $8,000 and her old necklace? That's it? I was touched beyond words. This necklace was a family heirloom going back generations. But Dad's face turned purple with rage. "This is outrageous. Rose always favored Rebecca for some reason." For some reason, I found my voice. Maybe because she was the only one who showed me kindness. That's when they dropped the nuclear bomb that destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. "You want to talk about kindness?" Dad exploded. "We took you in when no one else would." My blood turned to ice. "What are you talking about? You're not even our daughter," he screamed. "We adopted you when you were 2, after your mother died. Sarah was Patricia's college roommate, had you out of wedlock, got herself killed in a car accident. No father, no family willing to take you. So we did it out of the goodness of our hearts." The room spun. Adopted? 23 years, and this was how I found out? "Most of the family knows." Michael shrugged like he was discussing the weather. "It wasn't exactly a secret. Not a secret to anyone except the person whose life it was." "Why did Rose leave Rebecca the necklace anyway?" Catherine asked. "It should stay with blood family." Blood family. Those words cut deeper than any knife. The lawyer cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Mrs. Rose specifically said Rebecca should have it because true family is about love, not blood." That set Dad off again. That old woman always undermined us, filling Rebecca's head with nonsense about being special. "And what exactly is my place?" I asked, standing up. "You should be grateful," Michael snapped. "Do you know how many orphans end up in foster care? You had privileges." Privileges. Like constant reminders I wasn't good enough. Like forgotten birthdays and ignored achievements. "That's enough," Dad roared. "If you can't show gratitude, then leave." I looked around that table at faces I'd called family for 23 years. Not one person defended me. Not one. "Fine," I said quietly. "But tell me one thing. Was any of it real? Did you ever love me, or was I just a charity case you regretted?" Their silence was my answer. I walked out and never looked back. Guys, I'm going to pause here for a second because I can see in the comments that some of you are getting emotional. Trust me, it gets worse before it gets better. But stick with me because what happens next is going to blow your mind. LA with $8,000 and a sapphire necklace. Girl, I was about to learn what survival really meant. Tiny apartment with 2 roommates. Jessica the night shift nurse and Amanda the film student. My room was basically a closet with a twin bed. But it was mine, and that mattered more than comfort. Entry-level content writing job barely covered rent. I was writing blog posts about pet grooming and home improvement tips, not exactly using my Northwestern degree. But I had a plan. Every night after work, I taught myself digital marketing, video editing, content strategy. Free courses, coding challenges, building portfolios until 3 a.m. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford, but every hour was an investment in my future. Ramen noodles for dinner most nights. Cut my own hair. Walked everywhere to save bus fare. Every saved dollar was freedom from the family that rejected me. 6 months in, I attended a free marketing workshop. The speaker was Professor Daniel Martinez from USC. Absolute genius in digital storytelling. I sat in back taking notes like my life depended on it. When he finished, I worked up the courage to ask about narrative engagement strategies. His eyebrows shot up. "That's incredibly insightful," he said. "Most people wouldn't catch that nuance. Are you in the field?" Something about his genuine interest made me open up. Carefully, no family details. "You've got a gift for this," he said. "I'm hosting a storytelling competition next month. You should enter." That competition changed everything. My multimedia project about forgotten stories won second place and caught industry attention. Daniel became my mentor, then my friend. One of the few people who knew my story. "You understand emotional truth differently," he told me. "You see what others miss because you've lived it." I developed this concept for authentic digital content, focusing on real human stories instead of fake advertising. Had potential, but needed money I didn't have. Pitched to 31 investors. 31 rejections, each one echoing my family's dismissal. No track record. Come back when you have experience. But I refused to quit. Took a bartending job at an industry hangout. Exhausting after full marketing days, but it provided income and networking. One night, customer named Lisa left a huge tip after we chatted about digital storytelling. She kept coming back, asking deeper questions. Finally revealed she was an angel investor. "I've been testing you," she admitted. "You're the real deal." $150,000 investment. Not huge by startup standards, but enough to quit the day job and focus on my platform. Kept bartending weekends to stay grounded. 10 months of 16-hour days. Learning new skills on the fly. Technical failures. Moments of crushing doubt. But every night I'd hold Grandma Rose's necklace and remember, you have something special. The loneliness nearly broke me. No close friends, no family, no one to celebrate small wins or comfort me through failures. But I kept going, driven by something deeper than revenge. The need to prove to myself that I was worth something. Finally had a working prototype. Lisa arranged investor demos. This time, they were impressed. This authentic storytelling approach is genuinely innovative. Could be a game changer. True Story Media was born. Okay, everyone, if you're still here, we're about to get to the good part. This is where Rebecca starts building her empire. But before we continue, I want to ask, have any of you had to start over completely? Build something from nothing? Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you're a fellow entrepreneur. Our first platform launched and absolutely exploded. Adweek called it revolutionary. Within 6 months, 5 Fortune 500 companies wanted licensing deals. I expanded from tiny office to full downtown LA floor. 4 employees became 20, then 50, then 200. But this wasn't just business growth. I was building the family I never had. Every milestone celebrated. Every birthday acknowledged. No one ever felt invisible on my watch, because I knew exactly how that felt. Our second platform attracted entertainment companies globally. Valuation hit $200 million in 3 years. I moved from shared apartment to Pacific View condo. Thrift store clothes became designer pieces. Not vanity, just understanding that appearance matters in business. But success felt cold coming home alone every night. Scrolling social media became my weakness. Seeing Michael's posts about complete family gatherings and everyone I love in one place. Everyone except me, obviously. 5 years in, we landed a $300 million contract with international entertainment companies. Office celebration with champagne and bonuses for everyone. But when they all went home to families, I sat alone with wine, staring at another Michael post. That night, I decided if I couldn't have the family I was born into, I'd create a life so meaningful their absence wouldn't matter. Found a $15 million Beverly Hills estate. 4 acres, 8 bedrooms, guest house, pool, gardens. My financial advisor questioned buying such a huge place for one person. "This isn't just a house," I told him. "It's a statement." 6 months renovating to perfection. Dining room became my home office. One wing became a library, thousands of books. My childhood Beauty and the Beast fantasy realized. English gardens with winding paths and hidden benches. Memorial bench for Grandma Rose, surrounded by her favorite flowers. True Story Media kept expanding. 800 employees, 7 countries. I balanced success with purpose. Charity boards for foster kids, scholarships for disadvantaged journalism students, mentoring young women in media. Built my chosen family. Lisa, the investor turned hiking buddy. Daniel and his wife and kids for regular dinners. Amanda now directing documentaries. My executive team who'd become true friends. 10 years after founding, we went public. $1 billion valuation overnight. Magazine covers calling me media queen and built from nothing. If my biological family saw those articles, they never reached out. Their silence was relief and pain combined. 15 years after they cast me out, I hosted a charity gala at my estate. $12 million raised for foster care. Hollywood elites, politicians, celebrities, paying thousands to attend. Standing before that crowd, I reflected on the journey from 8,000 and a necklace to this empire. But part of me still wondered why I was never enough for them. The next morning, I got my answer. Y'all, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Grab some popcorn, because what happens next is insane. If you've been following along, drop a in the comments because you're about to witness the confrontation of the century. Sunday morning, silk pajamas, coffee on the terrace watching hummingbirds. Perfect peace shattered by security system chiming. Picked up my tablet to check the gate camera. Coffee cup slipped from my hands, shattering on stone. There they were, ghosts from my past life. Dad Thomas, now 70-something, gray and stooped. Mom Patricia with more lines but same pearl earrings. Catherine, heavier now, former athlete softened by middle age. Michael still perfectly groomed, brown hair hiding gray, with 2 kids clutching his hands. Girl about 10, boy maybe 8. 15 years of silence, and now they're at my gate. First instinct, ignore them. Let them wait until they give up, but curiosity won. Can I help you? I asked through intercom. Rebecca, it's Mom and Dad, and Catherine and Michael. We were hoping to talk. Talk? After 15 years? Should have said no. Should have told them to disappear forever. But that little girl inside me, still desperate for their approval, made me open the gate. Rushed to change from pajamas to jeans and blouse. Didn't want to look like I'd tried hard, but didn't want to seem unprepared either. Opened the door to find them staring up at my mansion with poorly hidden awe. Rebecca, Mom said, arms outstretched for a hug. You look wonderful. I stepped back, avoiding contact. Thank you, this is unexpected. We've been trying to find the right time to reach out, Dad said softly. When we saw the article about your charity gala in the LA Times. The LA Times. Of course, they hadn't come because they missed me. They'd come because they'd seen proof of my wealth in a major newspaper. Led them through marble foyer to living room overlooking gardens. They gawked at custom furniture and original artwork. Quite a home, Catherine whispered. Can I offer coffee? I asked. Autopilot hospitality kicking in. Used coffee prep as escape to kitchen, leaning against counter, steadying myself. I'd imagined this moment countless times, but felt completely unprepared. Returned with coffee and finest porcelain. Petty wealth display I couldn't resist. Kids were exploring while adults sat in awkward silence. These are my children, Michael said. Sophie and Tyler. I nodded at the kids, unsure how to interact with niece and nephew I'd never met. Had he told them about their erased aunt? They're beautiful, I said, because it seemed expected. We've missed you, Mom said, tears welling. Performance almost convincing. Have you? I asked. Voice steady despite bubbling anger. Interesting, since I haven't received a birthday card in 15 years. We didn't know how to reach out, Dad claimed, after how things ended. You could have tried. My email hasn't changed. My company isn't hard to find. We followed your career, Catherine interrupted. We're all very proud. Proud? The word tasted bitter. Now you're proud? Not when I graduated with honors. Not when I started my company. Only now when I have a mansion and billion-dollar business. Uncomfortable silence. Kids sensed tension, moved closer to Michael. Rebecca, Dad cleared his throat. We didn't just come to reconnect. Though that's our hope. We came because we could use your help. There it was, the real reason. What kind of help? Financial help, Dad admitted, looking embarrassed. My firm went bankrupt last year. At my age, finding work is challenging. I lost my marketing job 6 months ago, Catherine added. Freelancing isn't stable. I'm going through a messy divorce, Michael said quietly. Harold left me for his assistant. Legal bills are astronomical. I stared at each of them. The audacity was breathtaking. We were thinking, Dad continued, maybe you could help restart the family business. A loan of about $3 million would let us reestablish ourselves, create something the whole family could be part of. The whole family? You could be part of it too, Mom said eagerly. Silent partner, maybe. Help secure your niece and nephew's future. Strategic move, using the kids to tug heartstrings I wasn't sure still existed. We'd pay you back, Dad added, with interest. Maybe consider allocating some company shares to a family trust. Keep it all in the family. The nausea was overwhelming. Walking into my home after 15 years of silence, asking not just for money but for pieces of the company I'd built entirely without them. Speaking of family, like it included me when convenient for their wallets. I see, was all I said, mind already forming a response they'd never forget. Oh my God, you guys, the audacity. $3 million and company shares? After 15 years of treating her like she didn't exist. Drop it if you think these people have some serious nerve. I stood with deliberate calm, smoothing my jeans as I gathered thoughts. The room felt electric with tension, my family watching with expressions ranging from hope to barely disguised calculation. Please make yourselves comfortable, I said with practiced hospitality. The coffee is imported from a small Colombian cooperative. I visited the farms personally last year. This casual mention of international travel, of wealth allowing personal visits to coffee producers worldwide, wasn't lost on them. Dad's eyes narrowed, recalculating my worth. Michael glanced around with renewed interest, mentally appraising furniture value. I excused myself briefly, returning with a leather album and laptop. Set both on the coffee table, resumed my seat with the confidence of someone holding all the cards. Before we discuss financial arrangements, I said evenly, I think we should catch up on the past 15 years. After all, we are family, right? I emphasized family just enough to highlight the irony. Mom nodded eagerly. Yes, of course. So much to catch up on. Let's start with family gatherings, I suggested, opening the album. I've been keeping track. Their confused expressions turned uncomfortable as I revealed the first page, a Facebook screenshot from 15 years ago, 3 months after they'd banished me. Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house. Grateful for family today and always. This was 3 months after you told me never to contact you again, I said conversationally. I noticed everyone was there. Uncle Robert, Aunt Linda, Cousin Jessica flew in from Denver. Turned the page. Christmas, same year. Nothing better than having the whole family together for the holidays. Page after page, I showed evidence of the life they'd lived without me. Birthday celebrations, graduations, weddings, baby showers for Michael's children. Anniversary parties, all documented with captions about complete family gatherings and everyone we love. Why do you have all these? Michael asked, voice strained. Know your enemy, I smiled. Basic principle you taught me, Dad. Always know who you're dealing with. Closed the album, opened laptop, turned screen toward them. Now let's move to recent history. Read aloud an email from Dad, 12 years old. Rebecca, I must insist you cease contact attempts. Your mother was upset by your Christmas card. We've moved on and expect you to respect our privacy. Looked up at Dad. That was responding to the only Christmas card I ever sent after leaving. Simple holiday wishes. No reconciliation requests. No accusations. Just a card. That was your response. He stared at his hands, ashamed. And this, I continued, scrolling to another email, is from Michael to his friend Jason, accidentally copying me 3 years ago. Read aloud. Ugh. Saw another article about my sister, the tech genius. Mom went on about it all day, as if being rich makes up for being such a freak growing up. Some people just have all the luck despite being totally weird. Michael's face flushed red. I didn't mean, oh, you meant it, I interrupted. But it's fine. Your opinion stopped mattering long ago. Closed laptop. Leaned forward, looking each in the eye. For 15 years, you lived as if I didn't exist. Celebrated holidays, shared milestones, supported each other through hardships. You were a family in every sense, just without me, your choice. stood, walked to window overlooking gardens, the bench dedicated to Grandma Rose, the woman who had raised my father and loved me unconditionally. Now you come to the home I built, the life I created entirely without your help, talking about family like it's something picked up and dropped when convenient or profitable. Turned back to face them. Let me be crystal clear. I don't need a family that only wants me when I have something to offer. I don't need parents who only acknowledge me when I'm successful. I don't need siblings who mock me behind my back, but come asking for handouts. Color drained from Dad's face. Mom cried silently, whether genuine remorse or frustration at their plan's failure, I couldn't tell. Catherine stared at the floor. Michael sat rigid with anger or embarrassment. That said, I continued, voice softening as I looked at the confused, uncomfortable children. I don't believe in punishing kids for their parents' sins. Returned to my seat. Addressed Sophie and Tyler directly. I'm your Aunt Rebecca. We've never met because that's not your fault. I'd like to know you both if you're interested. Kids looked to Michael for guidance, uncertain how to respond. To that end, I said, returning my gaze to the adults. I will not be giving you $3 million to restart a business that failed once. I will not be signing over company shares to a family trust. What I will do is establish education funds for Sophie and Tyler, full college coverage when the time comes. Michael's expression mixed relief, disappointment, and wounded pride. We don't need charity, he began. It's not charity, I cut him off. It's investment in the only innocent parties here. Funds managed by my financial team, accessible only for education. You'll have no access to the money, stood, signaling meeting's end. That's my offer, take it or leave it. Dad stood too, face flushed with familiar anger. After everything we did for you? What exactly did you do? I asked quietly. Remind me. We gave you a home when no one else would, he sputtered. You did the legal minimum required of parents, I corrected, and made sure I knew every day it was obligation, not choice made from love. The moment I was old enough to cast out, you did exactly that. Mom rose, tears streaming. Rebecca, please, we made mistakes. We're sorry. Are you sorry for what you did? Or sorry I became successful without you, I asked. Because those are very different things. She had no answer. I think it's time for you to go, I said gently but firmly. My assistant will contact you about the education funds if you choose to accept them. Otherwise, I wish you well. Walked them to the door, maintaining composure through sheer will. As they stepped outside, Michael turned back, expression softer than I'd seen in decades. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I am proud of what you've accomplished. I really am. Too little, too late, but I nodded acknowledgement. Take care of your children, Michael, I replied. They deserve better than what we had. Closed the door on my past, leaned against it, finally letting tears come. Not sadness or regret, release. In facing my family, refusing their manipulation, I'd finally freed myself from their approval's last chains. Called Daniel immediately. Can you come over? My family just left and I need a friend. As I waited, I looked around the beautiful home I'd created. The life I'd built from nothing but determination and belief I deserved better. For the first time, I truly believed Grandma Rose would be proud. Not just of my success, but of finding strength to stand up for myself. Hold up, before I tell you what happened next, I need to address something I'm seeing in the comments. Some of you are saying I was too harsh, that I should have forgiven them immediately. Let me tell you why that's problematic thinking. You know what nobody tells you about confronting your toxic family? The days after are almost worse than the years of silence. That night after they left, I sat in my garden until 2 a.m., just staring at the stars. Daniel had come over, brought wine, and we talked for hours. But even surrounded by my chosen family, there was this hollow ache in my chest. Do you regret it? He asked as we sat on Grandma Rose's bench. I twisted the sapphire necklace between my fingers. This habit I'd had since childhood whenever I was thinking deep thoughts. No, I said finally, but it hurts differently than I expected. Because here's what I hadn't anticipated. I thought confronting them would bring closure. Instead, it brought clarity. The difference between those two things is like the difference between a closed door and a window. You can finally see through clearly. I could see them now for who they really were. Not the family I'd spent decades hoping would love me, but strangers who shared my DNA and nothing else. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter, like I'd been carrying a backpack full of rocks for 38 years, and finally got permission to set it down. But the real work was just beginning. 2 weeks after they left, I did something I'd never done before. I called a therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, recommended by Daniel, ironically enough. First session, I sat in her office feeling ridiculous. "I'm a billionaire," I said. "I have everything anyone could want. Why do I need therapy?" She leaned back in her chair, this knowing smile on her face. "Tell me about your family," and I broke down. Right there in her office, ugly crying like I hadn't done since I was 10 years old, and ate my birthday dinner alone. "Rebecca," she said gently, "you've spent your entire adult life building external success to heal internal wounds. That's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone." Therapy became my Tuesday ritual. Every week we'd dig deeper into the layers of abandonment, rejection, and self-doubt I'd buried under achievements and accolades. "You've been living like you're still that little girl trying to earn love," Dr. Chen said during one session. "When do you give yourself permission to just exist as you are?" That question haunted me for weeks. Meanwhile, my business kept exploding. 3 months after the family confrontation, Netflix approached us about creating a documentary series on authentic storytelling. 6 months later, we landed a deal with Disney for their new streaming platform initiatives. But success felt different now. Before, every achievement was ammunition, proof I was worthy despite what my family thought. Now, success was just success. I was building because I loved building, creating because I had something to say, not because I had something to prove. The difference was intoxicating. Guys, can I just say, the number of you sharing your own therapy journeys in the comments is incredible. Mental health isn't weakness, it's maintenance. Drop it if therapy has helped you too. 8 months after they'd shown up at my door, I got a letter. Not an email, an actual handwritten letter. My assistant Jessica brought it to my office with raised eyebrows. "This came to your personal address," she said. "Want me to screen it first?" I recognized the handwriting immediately. Michael's perfect script, the same penmanship that had won him calligraphy awards in middle school, while I struggled with basic cursive. My hands shook as I opened it. The letter was 6 pages long, handwritten, raw, and honest in a way I'd never seen from Michael before. He wrote about remembering my 10th birthday while planning Sophie's party, about realizing he'd been 15 and old enough to protect me but chose not to. He detailed every cruel thing he'd done, the borrowed items he'd broken, the friends he'd brought over specifically to exclude me, the whispered conversations that stopped when I entered rooms. He acknowledged sitting silent during that horrific will reading, making that comment about me being grateful when love should be freely given. He wrote about watching his own children love each other unconditionally and realizing how completely he'd failed me as a brother. The most powerful part: "You asked if any of it was real, if we ever loved you. The answer is complicated, Rebecca, and I don't expect it to matter to you now. Did I love you? Yes, but I loved the idea of being the golden child more. I loved the praise I got for being better than you at things, and maintaining that position required keeping you down." He ended by saying he was going to tell Sophie and Tyler about me, the real me, not the version they'd pretended existed. About the little girl who brought home straight A's to indifference, who performed to empty seats, who baked cookies with Grandma Rose and lit up when someone paid attention. Attached was a child's drawing from Sophie. Stick figures labeled Aunt Rebecca and Sophie, holding hands under a rainbow. At the bottom, "I hope I get to meet you someday." That picture broke something in me that needed breaking. Dr. Chen and I talked about the letter for 3 sessions. "How does it feel to have your experience validated?" she asked. "Confusing," I admitted. Part of me wants to respond, to thank him for acknowledging what happened, but part of me is furious that it took him 43 years, and having his own children to develop empathy. "Both can be true," she said. "You can acknowledge his growth while still protecting yourself from further harm." That became my guiding principle. Both things can be true. The foundation work became my therapy as much as actual therapy did. Every scholarship I funded, every mentorship program I created, every foster kid I helped, it was like healing that little girl inside me retroactively. One day, I was visiting a group home in East LA, talking to teenagers aging out of foster care about college opportunities. This girl named Maria, maybe 17, raised her hand. Miss Thompson, she said, what if nobody believes in you? What if even the people who are supposed to love you think you're nothing special? The room went quiet. Every kid in there had felt that pain. I looked at Maria, this brilliant young woman with eyes too old for her face, and saw myself at that age. Then you become your own first believer, I said. You love yourself so fiercely that their doubt becomes irrelevant, and you build a life so beautiful that their absence becomes a gift instead of a loss. After the session, Maria came up to me. Did someone make you feel that way too? She asked quietly. Yeah, I said. They did. But look at you now, she smiled. Maybe I can do that too. You absolutely can, I told her, and I meant it. When True Story Media went public, it wasn't just a business milestone, it was a statement to the universe. The little girl they'd thrown away had built something that mattered. Opening bell at NASDAQ. Surrounded by my team, my chosen family, investors who'd believed in my vision when nobody else would. The stock price climbed throughout the day, ending up 340% from opening price. Forbes called. Time magazine called. Harvard Business School wanted to do a case study on my company's growth model. But the call that mattered most came from Maria, the girl from the group home. Ms. Thompson, she said, voice barely containing excitement. I got into UCLA, full scholarship. I'm going to study business and change the world just like you did. That night, I celebrated alone in my garden with a glass of champagne and Grandma Rose's memory. Success felt different when it was shared with people who genuinely cared about your happiness, not just your bank account. The Rose Grace Foundation has helped over 10,000 kids now. Full college scholarships, therapy programs, legal advocacy for children stuck in abusive situations. We've opened 3 residential facilities for teens aging out of foster care, providing transitional housing and life skills training. Every year we host a gala, not the stuffy charity events I used to attend, but real celebrations where our scholarship recipients share their stories. Last year, Maria spoke about finishing her MBA and starting her own nonprofit. 5 years ago, she told the crowd, I was a foster kid with no family, no support, no reason to believe I was worth anything. Rebecca Thompson didn't just give me a scholarship. She gave me permission to dream bigger than my circumstances. Sitting in that audience, watching this remarkable young woman command the room with confidence and grace, I finally understood what Grandma Rose meant when she said I had something special. It wasn't my intelligence or my business acumen or my ability to build companies. It was my capacity to see potential in forgotten people because I'd been forgotten too. It was my ability to love fiercely because I knew what it felt like to be unloved. The pain that nearly destroyed me had become my superpower. I'm getting emotional reading your comments, you guys. So many of you sharing your own stories of overcoming rejection, of building something beautiful from broken pieces. You're proving my point. We're stronger than we think. 2 years after Michael's first letter, another envelope arrived. This time it was from Sophie herself. Now 12, with handwriting that reminded me painfully of my own at that age. She wrote about how her dad had told her the real story, not the made-up one about grown-up complications. How sorry she was that our family had been mean to me, and how she would have invited me to birthday parties and shared toys if she'd been there. She said she and Tyler talked about me a lot, saw my interview about helping kids without families, and Tyler had declared I must be the nicest person in the world. The kicker. We don't want anything from you. We just think it would be cool to have an aunt who builds companies and helps people. But if you don't want to meet us, that's okay too. Dad said sometimes when people hurt you really bad, you need to protect yourself by staying away. This 12-year-old had more emotional intelligence than most adults I'd met. This time, I didn't spend weeks agonizing over my response. I picked up my phone and called Daniel. I want to meet them, I said without preamble. Not Michael, not the rest of them. Just the kids. Are you sure? He asked. No, I laughed. But I'm going to do it anyway. Those kids didn't choose their father's mistakes. And maybe they deserve to know that family can be different than what they've seen. The meeting happened at a children's museum in downtown LA. I arrived early, nervous in a way I hadn't felt since my first investor pitch. When I saw them walking toward me, Sophie tall for her age, with Michael's dark hair but eyes that sparkled with curiosity, Tyler smaller and shy but carrying a carefully wrapped drawing, my heart did something complicated. They looked like family, but more than that, They looked like possibility. Aunt Rebecca, Sophie said tentatively. That's me, I smiled. And you must be Sophie and Tyler. Tyler stepped forward solemnly and handed me his drawing. It was indeed a dragon, purple and fierce, with the words Aunt Rebecca the Brave written in crayon at the bottom. Dad said you built your company like slaying a dragon, he explained seriously. So I made you a good dragon to help you. In that moment, looking at these two kids who saw magic in entrepreneurship and bravery in survival, I made a decision that surprised even me. Would you like to see where the dragon lives? I asked. Would you like to see my office? Their faces lit up like Christmas morning. We spent the afternoon in my corporate headquarters. I showed them the conference rooms where billion-dollar deals were made, the creative spaces where we developed content strategies, the innovation labs where we tested new platforms. But what they were most excited about was the wall in my office covered with letters and drawings from Foundation Scholarship recipients. You keep all of them? Sophie asked, amazed. Every single one, I confirmed. They remind me why I do this work. Tyler studied the wall seriously. Dad said you help kids who don't have families. That's right. But now you have us, he said matter-of-factly. So you have a family too. Out of the mouths of babes, that visit led to others, always supervised, always on neutral ground, always just me and the kids. They'd tell me about school, about their friends, about books they were reading. I'd share stories about building true story media, about traveling for work, about the Foundation's projects. Slowly, carefully, we built something that looked like an aunt-niece-nephew relationship. Michael never pushed for more, never asked to join our outings, never pressured me to forgive him or rebuild the larger family connection. He seemed to understand that this, his children having a relationship with their aunt, was more than he deserved and exactly what they needed. Okay, pause. I'm seeing some comments asking if I ever forgave Michael completely. Here's the thing about forgiveness that movies don't tell you. It's not a switch you flip. It's a process, and it doesn't always look like reconciliation. 6 months into our regular visits, Sophie asked the question I'd been dreading. Aunt Rebecca, why don't you come to Christmas? Dad gets really sad around holidays. I took a deep breath. Sometimes when people hurt you very badly, it takes a long time to feel safe with them again. Your dad and we have a complicated history. But you're not mad at us, right? Tyler asked anxiously. Oh, sweetheart, no, I said, pulling him into a hug. I'm not mad at you at all. You two are the best thing to come out of our family in decades. That night, I called Dr. Chen for an emergency session. I think I might want to try, I told her. Not with my parents. I'm not ready for that, may never be ready. But Michael, he's trying, really trying. And the kids. What would trying look like for you? She asked. Good question. What did forgiveness look like when trust was broken so completely? What did family look like when built on ruins? Baby steps, I decided. Supervised visits, boundaries. The right to walk away if old patterns resurface. And if he hurts you again? Then I'll survive it, I said. But I'll survive it as someone who chose to try, not someone who lived her whole life in fear of being hurt again. The first Christmas dinner I attended in 15 years was nothing like the holidays of my childhood. It was just Michael, Sophie, Tyler, and me. Small, quiet, tentative. We cooked together. Well, I mostly watched while Michael managed the kitchen and the kids helped by eating half the ingredients. Sophie set the table with her grandmother Patricia's china, the same plates I'd eaten off as a child, now carrying different memories. Aunt Rebecca, Tyler said as we sat down to eat, will you say grace? I almost choked on my water. I'm not really a grace-saying person, buddy. That's okay, Sophie said. We can just say what we're grateful for. So we went around the table. Sophie was grateful for her new art supplies and her best friend Emma. Tyler was grateful for his soccer team and his hamster, Mr. Whiskers. Michael was grateful for second chances he didn't deserve. When it was my turn, I looked around the table, at these two incredible kids who'd chosen to love me despite everything, at their father who was genuinely trying to make amends, at the life I'd built that was strong enough to risk opening my heart again. I'm grateful, I said slowly, for chosen family, for the courage to keep choosing love even when it's scary, and for the wisdom to know the difference between forgiving and forgetting. It wasn't a Hallmark movie ending. There were still awkward silences, still moments when old wounds ached. Michael and I would never have the easy sibling relationship that might have been. Too much had happened, too much trust had been broken. But it was something. A beginning, maybe. A small bridge across 15 years of silence. And sometimes, especially around the holidays, something is enough. Listen, if you're still with me after this marathon of family drama and emotional healing, I need to tell you something important. Maybe you're watching this and thinking about your own family situation. Maybe you've felt that specific sting of being rejected by people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. Maybe you've wondered if there's something fundamentally wrong with you because the people closest to you have turned away. Here's what I learned through all this pain and triumph, all these years of therapy and growth and building something beautiful from the ashes of my childhood. Your worth was never determined by people who failed to see it. Read that again. Let it sink in. You were not too much. You were not too little. You were not too weird, too sensitive, too ambitious, too quiet, too loud, too anything. You were exactly who you were supposed to be. And their inability to love you properly says everything about their limitations and nothing about your value. But here's the harder truth, the one that took me years to accept. Healing isn't about them changing. It's not about them apologizing or recognizing their mistakes, or finally giving you the love you deserved all along. Healing is about you deciding you're worth loving, regardless of whether they ever figure that out. For some of you, that might mean building boundaries so strong that toxic family members can't hurt you anymore. For others, it might mean going completely no contact and building a chosen family from scratch. And for a few, like me, it might mean cautiously, carefully exploring whether damaged relationships can be rebuilt with new foundations. All of these choices are valid. All of them take courage. And none of them guarantee a happy ending because this isn't a Disney movie. It's real life, and real life is messier and more complicated than any fairy tale. But here's what I know for sure. You deserve people in your life who see your worth without you having to prove it. You deserve love that doesn't come with conditions or scorecards. You deserve to feel safe, valued, and appreciated for exactly who you are. The Rose Grace Foundation isn't just about college scholarships or therapy programs. It's about proving that family is a choice, not an accident of birth. Every kid we help, every young adult we mentor, every success story we celebrate. They're all proof that your beginning doesn't determine your ending. Last month, Maria, remember Maria from the group home? She got married. She walked down the aisle with no biological family present, but the church was packed with her chosen family. Foundation staff, college friends, the kids she now mentors through her own nonprofit. She asked me to walk her down the aisle. "You didn't just give me money for college," she said when she asked. "You gave me permission to believe I was worth investing in. You showed me that family is something you build, not something you're born into." Walking her down that aisle, watching her marry someone who cherishes her exactly as she is, I finally understood what success really looks like. It's not the magazine covers or the billion-dollar valuation or the Beverly Hills mansion. It's this. Broken people helping other broken people build something beautiful from the pieces. It's choosing to love fiercely even when you've been hurt deeply. It's deciding that your story doesn't end with rejection. It begins there. For those of you still in the thick of family trauma, still wondering if you'll ever feel whole, still questioning whether you're worthy of love, I see you. I was you. Some days, I still am you. Here's what I wish someone had told me at 15, at 25, at 35, when I was still carrying around the weight of their approval like it was oxygen. You don't need their permission to be extraordinary. You don't need their validation to know your worth. You don't need their love to be lovable. And you sure as hell don't need their presence to build a life that matters. Your pain doesn't have to be pointless. Your wounds don't have to be wasted. Everything that broke you can become the foundation for everything that makes you strong. But first, you have to choose yourself. You have to decide you're worth fighting for, worth investing in, worth the hard work of healing. And honey, I'm here to tell you, you absolutely are. I know what some of you are thinking because I see these comments on every video about family estrangement. But they're still your family. No. Family is who shows up when you need them, not who shares your DNA. You should forgive and move on. Forgiveness is for me, not for them. And it doesn't require putting myself back in harm's way. Money doesn't buy happiness, true, but financial independence buys freedom from people who hurt you. And that's pretty close to happiness in my book. You're being too harsh. I spent 23 years being too forgiving. Being harsh enough to protect myself is growth, not cruelty. And for those of you thinking, I wish I could do what she did, but I'm not smart, brave, talented enough. Stop right there. Intelligence helped, sure. But what really built this empire was stubbornness, refusing to accept that their rejection meant I was rejectable, choosing to get up every day and try again even when everything hurt. You have that same choice available to you right now. You have the same stubborn strength inside you, even if it's buried under years of being told you're not enough. You are enough. You always were enough. Their inability to see it doesn't change that truth. Have you ever had to build your own family when your biological one failed you? What helped you heal from family rejection? What does chosen family look like in your life? Drop your stories in the comments below. I read every single one, and I promise you, your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Share the moments when you first realized you were worth more than how they treated you. Tell us about the people who became your chosen family. Celebrate the victories, big and small, that proved them wrong about you. And if you're still in the thick of it, if you're still fighting to believe you're worthy of love, tell us that too. This community shows up for each other. We see you, we believe in you, and we're cheering you on. If this story resonated with you, if it made you feel less alone in your struggle, smash that like button and subscribe for more real talk about overcoming life's biggest challenges. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes we all need permission to choose ourselves. Hit that notification bell because next week, I'm sharing the letter I never sent to my parents. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. But most importantly, remember this. You're not broken because they couldn't love you properly. You're not damaged goods because they didn't know how to handle your light. You're not too much or too little or too anything. You're ready to find people who will see you, choose you, and love you exactly as you are. The best chapters of your story, they're still being written, and I can't wait to see what you create next. Thanks for being part of this journey with me. Thanks for letting me share the ugly parts and the beautiful parts and everything in between. Keep choosing yourself. Keep building the life you deserve. And never, ever forget that your story matters. The sapphire necklace catches the light one more time as I close this chapter of my story, ready to write new ones filled with chosen family, genuine love, and the kind of success that comes not from proving others wrong, but from knowing your own worth. Until next time, this is Rebecca Thompson reminding you that sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones we choose for ourselves.